How does a man who failed school, went broke, and lost everything in a war build a company that earns over $25,000 every minute? If you want to discover the secret and enjoy more inspiring stories to improve your English, subscribe now and turn on all notifications so you never miss our next story. I am so happy you are here with me today. Before we begin our story, I want you to find a comfortable place to sit. Maybe you have a warm drink. Take a deep breath. Today, we are going to listen to a story together. It is a story about a man, a company, and a dream that changed the world. Have you ever heard of the Honda company? They make cars and they make motorbikes, but did you know that every single minute Honda makes more than $25,000? That is a very big number. They build cars, yes. They build motorbikes, of course, but they also build private jets that fly in the sky, robots that can walk and talk, and even boats that travel on water. But this is not really about money. This is a story about a man who knew what it felt like to be rejected. He knew loss. He lived through a war and an earthquake, and moments when he had no money at all. He faced humiliation. This is the story of a man who did not have a fancy education. He did not come from a rich family, and he had no special support. And yet he changed the world. His name was Soichiro Honda. This story will teach you something very important. It will teach you why failure is not something to be afraid of. It will show you how difficult moments, how pain can actually help build your future. And it will show you that even if the whole world tells you, you cannot do it, you still can. All right, are you ready? Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Boy Who Watched Wheels. Soichiro Honda was born on November 17, 1906. He was born in a small, quiet village called Komyo in an area of Japan called Shizuoka. He was not born in a big, busy city. His village was very peaceful, and his family was very poor. But they were not just poor in money. They also had many emotional struggles. His father, Gihei Honda, was a blacksmith. This means he worked with metal. He was very skilled with his hands and used to repair things like bicycles, tools for the kitchen, and other metal objects. His mother, who was named Mika, was a weaver. She made beautiful cloth using her hands, working hard every day. They were a working-class family, and every single person in the family had to work just to have enough food and a place to live. Life was not easy. Soichiro had 8 brothers and sisters. 8. But there is a very sad part to this story. 5 of his siblings died when they were very, very young. The family was so poor that they could not afford to buy medicine or see a doctor. So from a very young age, Soichiro saw death. He saw it very closely. He understood what it meant to be in pain, to be hungry, and to feel helpless. Later in his life, he said something in an interview that helps us understand him. He said, "I was not afraid of failure because I saw things worse than failure when I was a child." His first love was not a person. It was a machine. One day, a strange machine came to his small village. It was something he had never ever seen before. It was a car. He had only heard about them, but he had never seen one with his own eyes. He was just a little boy, maybe 8 or 9 years old, when he saw that car for the very first time. The road in his village was made of dirt, so it was dusty. The car's engine was very loud. The man driving the car looked very proud. But Soichiro, he was not proud. He was curious. His heart started to beat faster. He ran out of his house and began to run behind the car. He didn't care that the dust was getting in his eyes and his hair. He didn't care about the loud noise. He just looked at the wheels, watching them turn and turn. He stared at all the moving parts underneath. In that one moment, he fell in love. But it was not with the car itself. He fell in love with how the car moved, the idea of it, the engineering. Years later, he said, "I don't remember the color of the car. I don't remember the brand. I only remember the smell of oil. I only remember the sound of the engine. That was enough for me." Many people think that to be successful in life, you must be a top student in school. But Soichiro was not a good student at all. In fact, he failed in many subjects. Sometimes he would even skip school. But he wasn't being lazy. He would go to the workshop with his father instead. His teachers did not think he would achieve anything important. His classmates did not take him seriously. But there was something that nobody saw. He was learning, but not from books. He was learning with his hands. He loved machines. He loved engines. He loved building things. Sometimes he would walk along the streets and collect old broken bicycle parts that people had thrown away. He would take them home, and in a small corner, he would work on them. He would fix them, build new things from them, and then sometimes he would break them apart again just to understand how they worked. His brain did not enjoy textbooks, but it loved the feel of nuts and bolts wires and tools and the logic of gears. When Soichiro turned 15 years old, he did something very brave. He was reading a newspaper and he saw an advertisement. It was for a mechanic's job in the big city of Tokyo. He had never been to a big city before. He had no money saved. He did not have a rich uncle or a family friend waiting for him in Tokyo. But he still applied for the job. And guess what? He was selected. But the company, a small auto repair shop called Art Shokai, did not say, "Come, we will train you to be a great mechanic." They said, "You will be an assistant. Your job will be to clean the floors. You will watch and observe. You will not touch the tools for a very long time." But Soichiro said, "Okay." He didn't need a perfect job. He just wanted a place where he could learn. He worked at Art Shokai, and the owner was very impressed with him. Why? Because Soichiro worked harder than anyone else. He cleaned the floor with care. When someone was repairing an engine, he would stand quietly and observe every single step. He watched how they held the tools. He listened to the sound of every part. He remembered every detail. He would stay up late at night, long after everyone else had gone home, just to learn more. He would ask questions whenever he could. He read the technical manuals. And soon, people started to notice him. They saw his passion. When he was only 17 years old, he was given his first real chance. He was asked to help build an engine for a racing car. He worked on it with all his heart, and he helped his company win an important race. By the time he was 22 years old, his dreams had grown bigger. He didn't just want to fix cars anymore. He wanted to build the parts himself. He wanted to create new technology. He wanted to start his own company one day. He said something that he truly believed. The best learning is not in books. It's in failure, in hands-on experience, and in your own passion. And with that idea in his heart, Soichiro started to take the very first steps toward building his future. But life was going to test him many, many times. Chapter 2: Fire Failure and the Rise of a Dream. After working for many years in that repair shop, learning everything he could about machines, engines, and parts, Soichiro was finally ready. He opened his own small company. He called it Tokai Seiki, which means Eastern Sea Precision Machine Company. What did his company do? It made piston rings. A piston ring is a very important part that goes deep inside a car's engine. Every car needs them. Without good piston rings, an engine cannot work properly. So Soichiro thought to himself, if I can build excellent piston rings and sell them to the big car companies, my own company will grow. He did not have big expensive machines. He did not have a team of experts. All he had was a small workshop, some basic tools, and his own 2 hands. But he had something more important than anything else. He had belief. He believed in his dream. Now let's talk about the truth of what happened next. The first time Soichiro made a set of piston rings, they failed. The quality was not good. The second time he tried, they also failed. The third time, they still failed. Not a single company wanted to buy them. Even Toyota, the biggest car company in Japan at that time, rejected his work. They looked at his piston rings and said, "The quality is too poor. These are useless." Can you imagine that? After all that hard work, after starting his own company, he got nothing but rejection. Did he stop? Number Soichiro did not cry. He did not run away from the problem. He said something very powerful. He said, "Success is 99% failure." So he kept working. He went back to his workshop. He tested, he failed, and he tested again. In the evenings, after working all day, he went to a technical school to learn more about science and materials. He used all of his own savings to do experiments. He even sold his wife's jewelry to get more money to keep the business going. That must have been a very difficult conversation, but she believed in him too. He tried more than 50 times to get the design just right. And then finally, one day, it worked. After years of constant effort, he created a piston ring that was perfect. And Toyota finally said, "Yes, we want your piston rings." This was like a dream come true. Soichiro was so happy. He smiled and thought, now my life will change. Now my business will grow. Toyota gave him a big contract. They said, "We will buy your piston rings in large quantities." Everything was going well. He started building a new, bigger factory. He hired more people. He bought more tools. It looked like his dream was finally becoming real. But life had another plan. In 1945, just as his new factory was getting ready, a huge earthquake hit the area. Boom! The building collapsed. The new machines broke. The walls cracked. Everything he had built with so much love and hard work was destroyed in just a few moments. People around him said, "Soichiro, this is a sign. You should stop this business. Go and get a safe job." But Soichiro said, "No. If I stop now, then everything I have learned from my failures will be wasted." So he started again. He asked his team to collect scrap metal, old pieces of metal from other broken things. He rebuilt his factory piece by piece. He worked day and night, fixing everything he could. And just when things were starting to get a little better, something even worse happened. It was the early 1940s, and World War II had started. Bombs were being dropped over Japan. One of those bombs fell directly on Soichiro's factory. Boom! This time, everything burned. His workshop, his tools, the building he had rebuilt. It all turned into black smoke and ashes. The dream he had built twice was gone. Again. Soichiro stood in front of the burned building. There was smoke in the air, and maybe there were tears in his eyes. But deep inside his heart, there was still a fire. A different kind of fire. People again told him, "You have lost everything. You cannot start again. It's impossible." But he replied with words that we should all remember. Success is not about how high you go. It's about how many times you stand up after falling. After the war finally ended, Japan was in a very bad condition. There was almost no money. There was no fuel for cars. There were no jobs. People had lost so much. Soichiro looked around him and he saw that people were tired. They had no way to get around. They were walking for miles and miles every day just to get food or go to work. Even buying a simple bicycle was too expensive for many. And then Soichiro had an idea. He had found an old small generator from the army. It was a machine that created a little bit of power. He looked at it and thought, what if I attach this small engine to a bicycle? And that is exactly what he did. He created the very first motorized bicycle in Japan. It was cheap, it was simple, and it was much faster than walking. People loved it. And just like that, a new company was born. The Honda Motor Company. At this point, Soichiro could have named his company anything, but he chose to name it Honda after his own family name. Why? Because he believed in accountability. He said, if it fails, I will take the responsibility. If it succeeds, the name will remind people that it all started with one man and a big dream. The small engine on a bicycle became a huge hit. People from all over Japan started buying it. Within just a few years, Honda started building better engines, bigger motorbikes, and stronger machines. They created the famous Honda Cub, which became one of the best-selling motorbikes in the history of the world. Chapter 3. From motorbikes to cars chasing giants with courage. Soichiro Honda had now created something that was changing people's lives. A simple motorized bicycle. It was affordable, it was fast, it was easy to use, and it was perfect for a poor, broken Japan after the war. People who had no vehicles before were now riding these motorized bikes. They were using them to go to work, to take their children to school, to do their daily shopping, and even to deliver food. This little invention was not just a machine, it was a symbol of hope. And this was just the beginning. After the success of the motorbike, Soichiro did not sit back and relax. He did not say, okay, now I have made it. I am successful. No. He said something powerful that shows us how he thought. He said, the value of life can be measured by how many times your soul has been deeply stirred. He wanted to stir the soul of every person in the world. He wanted to go beyond Japan. He wanted to build something bigger, something more powerful, something that would compete with the biggest companies in the world. He said to himself, now we will make cars. At that time, making cars was not a joke. In Japan, there were already giant car companies like Toyota, Nissan, and Mazda. These companies were huge, powerful, and well-funded. They were already selling cars all across the country. And Soichiro Honda, he had never made a car before. He didn't have the proper equipment or the expert engineers or the big factories that Toyota had. People laughed at him. Even some of his own employees said, but sir, we are bike makers. How can we possibly build cars? But Honda looked them in the eye and said, we are not here to copy others. We are here to create something new. He didn't care about how big the other companies were. He didn't care that people called him crazy. He believed in taking risks. In the early 1960s, Honda and his small team started working on their very first car. They worked in small, simple workshops. They did not have air conditioning. They didn't even have proper floors. It was dusty, it was noisy, and it was very difficult. But they had passion. Honda worked side by side with his engineers. He did not sit in a beautiful glass office giving orders. He wore a simple cap, rolled up his sleeves, and got his hands dirty. He checked every screw, every wire, every single bolt. He wanted to know how everything worked. He didn't want to copy the cars made by other companies. He wanted to build something new, something smaller, more efficient, and cheaper. Because he wanted normal people, not just rich people, to be able to own a car. In 1963, they released their first car. It was the Honda T360, a small pickup truck with a tiny engine. It was not a luxury car. It was not a fast sports car. But this little truck was Honda's announcement to the world. It said, "We are here, and we are different." It had a very small engine, only 356 cc, which is smaller than most motorcycle engines today. The engine produced just 30 horsepower and could reach a top speed of about 100 kilometers per hour or 62 miles per hour. It was extremely lightweight, which made it very good with fuel and affordable. The price was around 400,000 yen in Japan at that time, which was roughly $100 back then. It was designed mainly for small business owners, for farmers, and for delivery work people who needed something practical and cheap. But here's the interesting twist. The engine was painted bright red. Yes, red. Honda put an engine that was like a motorcycle's engine into a truck and painted it red just to stand out. No one had ever done this before. It was strange, it was new, and it was exciting. And guess what? People loved it. It wasn't luxurious, but it was reliable. It was cute, and it was fun to drive. It was something fresh in a market full of big, boring cars. More than 100,000 of them were sold. That shows you how strong the impact was. Just a few months after the T360 truck, Honda dropped another surprise. It was a car that looked like it came from the future. This was the Honda S500, their first passenger car. And it was completely different from what anyone expected. It had a slightly bigger 531cc engine producing 44 horsepower, which was very powerful for such a small car. It could reach a top speed of 130 kilometers per hour, or 81 miles per hour faster than many bigger cars. And it had chain-driven rear wheels, just like a motorcycle. Again, Honda was doing things their own way. The price was around 459,000 yen, or about $1,270 back then. It had a sleek, sporty design, a soft convertible top that could be opened round headlights, and a curvy body. It looked like a beautiful toy, but it drove like a dream. At a time when Japanese cars were often seen as basic and boring. The little S500 showed the world that Honda was not afraid to be bold. This little sports car wasn't just about speed, it was about fun, freedom, and for dreamers. The result. People were amazed. Honda wasn't copying anyone. They were creating their own path. A small pickup truck with the heart of a motorcycle and a sports car that felt alive. People started asking, who is this Honda company, and what will they do next? These two cars, the T360 and the S500, didn't just move on wheels, they moved people's hearts. They introduced the world to Honda's spirit, small engines, big dreams, and the courage to be different. Now here comes one of the most important parts of the story. Honda didn't want to stop in Japan. He looked across the ocean to the United States of America. This was the land of giant car companies like Ford, Chevrolet, and Chrysler. It was a land where car companies were like kings. Many Japanese companies were afraid to go to America. The market was very difficult. People in the US liked big cars, powerful engines, and strong designs. Japanese cars were often seen as small, weak, and a little strange. But Honda was different. He said, if we can make the best product, we can enter any market. In 1972, Honda released the Honda Civic. It was small, it was cheap, it was fuel efficient, and most importantly, it was reliable. At first glance, it didn't look like a big deal. It was a simple car, not flashy or loud. But behind that little car was a very big idea. It used very little petrol, so people could drive longer and save money. It didn't break down often. It just kept going and going. And it was much cheaper than most American cars, so almost anyone could afford to buy one. It was easy to drive with a simple design and smooth handling, which was great for families, for students, and for workers. At that exact time, America was going through a fuel crisis. The price of gasoline was rising very quickly. People needed smaller cars that used less fuel. The Honda Civic arrived at the perfect time. It was like a gift for American families. Within a very short time, the Honda Civic became a massive success in the United States. People in the US were shocked. They would say to each other, "This little car from Japan is actually better than many of our big cars." Soichiro Honda had done something incredible. He had entered the biggest and most competitive car market in the world and won people's hearts not with power, but with quality and trust. The name Honda was no longer just a Japanese brand. It became a global symbol of innovation and trust. After the Civic came another masterpiece, the Honda Accord. Launched in 1976, the Accord was a little larger than the Civic, but it was still fuel efficient and very smart in its design. It quickly became a favorite family car in America, in Europe, and all across the world. People started saying, "If you want a car that will last for years and years, buy a Honda." The Accord became one of the best-selling cars in American history. Honda chose the name Accord because it means harmony, peace, and agreement. They wanted their car to be in perfect harmony with people and the world. Comfortable, efficient, safe, something that simply felt right. And that's exactly what it became. Even though it was bigger, it still saved fuel. It had more space inside, which was great for families and longer journeys. The engine was strong but quiet, making the drive smooth. It was solid safe and built to last a long time. It wasn't too expensive, but it felt premium. People who bought the Accord never stopped talking about it. They would say things like, "It's been 10 years and my Accord still runs like it's new." Or, "I've driven it across the country without a single problem." It became a trusted name in the family, a car that represented quality and smart choices. If the Civic was Honda's opening act, the Accord was the standing ovation. It showed the world that Honda wasn't just lucky. They were smart, consistent, and deeply connected to what people truly needed. Let me tell you something amazing about Soichiro Honda. He didn't act like a typical boss. He didn't wear expensive suits and sit in a luxury chair giving orders. He worked with his employees, not above them. He once said, "A company is not a machine. It is a collection of people. If you take care of your people, they will take care of your customers." He treated every single employee with respect, whether it was a top engineer or a person who cleaned the floors. He believed in learning from mistakes, and he never punished people for trying something new and failing. At Honda, everyone was encouraged to think, to innovate, and to speak up. This culture made Honda different from every other company. People don't just buy machines, they buy what the machine means to them. A father buys a bike to take his son to school. A young woman buys her first car with her own salary and cries with joy sitting in the driver's seat. A man loses his job but keeps his old reliable Honda running while he searches for the next opportunity. These are not stories about engines and tires. These are stories about dreams, about journeys, about life. And that's how Honda kept winning hearts, not with loud marketing, but with quiet, dependable trust. But the path wasn't always smooth. Honda faced hard times too. There were moments of failure car models that didn't sell, and factories that had to be closed. But Honda never stopped. Why? Because in their company culture, failure was never feared. It was respected as a part of learning. Let's look at one example, the launch of their first luxury car brand, Acura, in America. Honda was already a trusted name for affordable economy cars, but now it wanted to step into the world of luxury. This was a very bold move, competing with famous brands like BMW and Mercedes. People said Honda can't do luxury. They make cars for middle-class people. But Honda answered with action, not words. The Acura Legend was launched. It was smooth, quiet, powerful, and beautifully designed. And it worked. Acura became America's first successful Japanese luxury brand. Meanwhile, in the world of motorcycles, Honda was becoming the king. In big countries like India, people would say, "If you want a bike that never dies, buy a Honda." Farmers, students, delivery men. Everyone trusted. Honda bikes. Models like the CD100, the Shine, and the Unicorn became household names. But Honda didn't stop there. It wanted to give back to the planet. The future was changing, and pollution was becoming a big problem. So Honda began focusing on green technology. It started working on hybrid engines, cleaner fuel, better batteries, and eventually electric vehicles. While other companies were still just thinking about it, Honda had already started doing it. Let's begin the next part of our story in a quiet place. Imagine one of Honda's futuristic research labs in Japan. It's not noisy here. There are no roaring engines. Instead, you hear soft footsteps, quiet discussions, and you see glowing computer screens and the eyes of people full of wonder. These are not ordinary workers. These are dream builders. They are not working on tires or seats. They are working on dreams that can fly. Yes, Honda was now dreaming beyond the roads. After becoming a global success with bikes and cars, Honda asked a very bold question. What if we can fly? Not just with regular airplanes, but with our own technology, with our own hope. And just like that, a new chapter began. The Honda Aircraft Company. You see, when Honda started designing a private jet, the world laughed again. Experts said, "Who do they think they are? They are good with bikes. They are good with small cars." But jets, that's not a toy. It's serious aviation. But Honda had never listened to doubters before. Why start now? So the engineers worked day and night. For 30 years, they did not stop. They tested, they failed, they reworked the design, and they redesigned it again. There were no shortcuts, no rushing. And then the moment came. The first test flight of the Honda jet. It wasn't just another airplane, it was a revolution. The Honda jet had its engines placed above the wings, which is a very rare design. People said it wouldn't fly properly. But it did fly. And it flew better than anyone expected. It was faster, quieter, more fuel efficient, and had more space inside than jets that were twice its price. In 2018, the Honda jet became the best-selling light business jet in the world. Now just imagine that. A company that began with repairing bicycles in a small village. A man who failed in school and failed in business so many times. This company had now built a machine that flies in the sky above the clouds, above all the doubt, and above all the fear. This isn't just business. This is a story of human achievement. But Honda still wasn't done. The company looked again into the future and asked, what will humans really need in the next 50 years? And the answer was not just speed or power, it was care. The world's population is aging. People are living longer, but they often need support. Love and help. So Honda turned its eyes towards something new: robots. Not scary robots or cold machines. They wanted to build gentle, kind, and smart robots who could help elderly people, support children, and assist people with disabilities. And so, Honda created something magical, the world's most advanced humanoid robot at the time, Asimo. Asimo was a little white robot shaped like a child in a spacesuit. But this child could walk, talk, run, climb stairs, wave hello, carry objects, and even understand voice commands. People cried when they first saw it. Children would reach out their hands to touch its hands. It wasn't just a robot. It was a symbol of hope. It was a vision of a future where machines don't replace us, but instead they support us. And still, Honda was not done. It started investing in hydrogen fuel technology, dreaming of cars that create only water as waste, not pollution. It developed electric vehicles, smart navigation, AI systems, advanced safety features, and even self-driving technology. It worked on walking assist devices for people who have had a stroke. It designed solar energy systems for clean homes. And in every single one of these dreams, there was one common thing: respect for life. Not just human life, but the life of our planet, our home. Because Honda believed that technology should always serve humanity, not control it. That progress is only real when it brings peace, health, and hope to everyone. Let's now look at what makes Honda truly unforgettable. Is it the vehicles, the jet? The robot? No. It's the philosophy behind it all. Soichiro Honda once said, "Success represents the 1% of your work which results from the 99% that is called failure." That's it. That is the secret. He taught us that it's okay to fall. It's okay to cry, to be rejected, to be misunderstood. It's okay as long as you don't quit. As long as you stand up one more time than you fall. As long as you believe in your own dream more than the world believes in your failure. Honda is proof that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. It's proof that where you come from doesn't matter. Only your belief matters. So what happens now? Where does this story go from here? The truth is, it goes to you. Yes, you who are listening to this final chapter. This is no longer just Honda's story. It's your story now. You are the dreamer. You are the creator. You are the next chapter. I want you to ask yourself, what dream is sleeping inside of you? What idea are you hiding because you are afraid? What special gift do you carry in your own hands? If a young boy from a poor village in Japan can rise from a bicycle repair shop to touching the sky, then so can you. Remember, you don't need perfect English to start. You don't need rich parents. You don't need to be famous or have many followers. You only need one thing: courage. The courage to try. The courage to fail. The courage to rise and to try again. The courage to be laughed at, to feel lonely sometimes, but to stay strong and to become a light for other people. So today, as you finish listening to this story, I hope you do it with a full heart. Stand up from your chair and maybe whisper these words to yourself: I will not die with my dream still inside me. That is the real ending of this story. It's not in a book. It's not on a screen. It is in your life. Because you, my friend, are not small. You are not weak. You are not lost. You are a burning fire. Let it rise. Let it shine. Let it fly like a Honda jet above every limit, above every doubt, and above everything the world said you could not do. This is the end of our story, but it is the beginning of you. Thank you for listening. Now go and live your dream, because the road belongs to those who dare to drive on it.